class of how to update the belief system to update the frequency in which cells replicate themselves. So this is a very important way and different of teaching. Most teachers are very clear about what they teach. This is what I teach, this is what it is. I appear to be all over the place because I am trying to create many paths to the path. I'm more than glad to hang out a little bit if you want to start the conversation. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to our Wednesday morning class, coming to you from HeartLight Spiritual Center here in Charlotte, North Carolina. For you that are joining us online, out of state or out of Charlotte, we want to also embrace you and welcome you to the class today. We're tackling a rather, what can be to some, a controversial subject, but I think sometimes that it's important to not avoid more controversial subjects, but let us look at them because they're part of the wholeness that we're all looking for. You know, sometimes we say the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Well, that's what we're looking for here, the wholeness of truth. So let's begin this morning, get right into it because there's many things. The way the Spirit is moving through this subject, especially, I think it does all, but I'm noticing it more clearly that it is giving us many different streams of perceptions of this subject. And I want to say to those who are not joining us here, the reason for that is because we are not trying to convince you, or we're not trying to convert you, we're not trying to manipulate you to any one belief about this subject. One thing that we are finding more and more is there is no real absolutes as we have thought it was. This, that, black, white, right, wrong, hell, heaven, God, devil. I mean, just think about all of the teachings have been based pretty much on this and that, black and white type of teachings, and the whole gray area of information has been totally looked over. And I don't know about you, but all my life I found myself in the gray areas of teaching because I would say, well, no, I don't exactly believe that, but I don't believe that either. But yeah, there's something true about that, and there's something true here too. So that is the place in which we occupy in consciousness, is that place that we refer to as the gap, bridging the gap. This is the teachings of third dimension systems has left us with a lot of blind spots in our consciousness, things that don't fit. We have not connected the dots, and there's missing dimensions and realms to a lot of subjects because we've not taught with an understanding that we are multidimensional beings. And that means that we have to relook what is truth at one level of our consciousness may not exactly be a truth for the different realm of consciousness. And we talked about that, I think, last week, the difference in what is true. What is true for me? And notice I'm careful not to say what is the truth. I have found the truth of me. I am the truth. So I tell people, once you know who you are, everything else is in entertainment. So that's all we're doing now. We're just entertaining ourselves with a lot of information and knowledge to see how we want to play with data. How do we want to play with all this information that's been thrown at us, especially a lot of us from the religious arena? Because when it comes to ideas of God, Jesus, the Christ, and all of those kind of spiritual ideas, we have to look at how that has affected us and how that we want to revisit some of these things to see them from a new a different level. As a literalist, being raised a literalist, and taught that the Bible was the infallible Word of God, didn't work for me because I questioned that and wanted to know. And because of that, I started opening other levels of my mind and consciousness that when I read it, I could read it from a different level of consciousness than the one I had been branded into, and that is to stay within this particular level of consciousness where there was dogma and doctrine and religious belief and all of that. I became a seeker for self, a self-seeker. That's what I did. I wanted to know for myself. I did not want to just take it because the preacher said it. And that's the thing we've done to give our power away. So that is not where we are, definitely. We are on the bridge of moving from what we thought things were to trying to see how things are in the sense of being true in the time in which you and I have chosen to live and incarnate. That is the true that you're looking for. What is true for me? And if you remember, we did so much teaching on the Gene Davis classes on self-knowledge. So I'm going to read a quote from Gene Davis I just got this morning before I came about reincarnation. So we'll start there with Gene Davis. There's always been much confusion connected with the term reincarnation because man has closed the door to one's own self-knowledge. That is knowledge of the conscious self in the body. He is unaware that our body is not just all of ourself, and that what we once believed was a body to cast off at death. When you learn to draw on your own self-knowledge and to think without religious destination, at this point you will be able to regenerate the physical body to extend itself, and therefore does not have to be cast off in order to regenerate through self-consciousness, our consciousness of self. So what that's kind of saying, as much of what I'm trying to tell you, is that reincarnation is not a destiny. It is not the answer to your destiny. It is something that is used to bring you to a certain level of consciousness. And once you're brought to that level of consciousness, in other words, when reincarnation has done what it's supposed to do, it brings you to a level of consciousness in which you become enlightened. And I like the Buddhist idea that all paths lead you to the no path. So reincarnation leads you to no reincarnation. Because people have kind of made reincarnation the new spiritual law of metaphysics. And they think that I can just keep coming back and doing. But I don't believe that. I believe that there is a people, I'll call them, that has finished that journey, and reincarnation has brought them to the level of consciousness that they now can begin to self-regenerate with having to leave the body and come back in another body. Now, is that us? That's the question. I do not know that. All I know about myself is that I was given the vision and the mission to put it out there and seed the garden of the soul. And that's all I'm doing. So if I cast away this body tomorrow, and you'll say, well, he didn't know what he was talking about, because look at him. He went by the way of physical death. That does not in any way diminish the truth that I'm putting out and seeding into the soul of those who are of this generation or of another generation. It's important that we set the ordinances of heaven into the earth. Do you remember that? And I was told that 35 years ago. A prophetess came through the town where I was pastoring and said, I came here only to give you a message that you are here to set the ordinances of heaven into the earth. So that's my position, and I've made peace with that. I don't have to see manifested everything I say, everything I'm talking about. But it doesn't make it any less true seed that is going to be now available in the collective consciousness. In fact, and I want to say this, I've been in this long enough that I've seen what it's like to be kind of out in the front as a pioneer, to be very alone in a lot of the teachings that I've done and misunderstood. Not anymore. Not anymore. It's all over Facebook. It's everywhere. Stuff I was trying to tell people 20, 30 years ago. Telomeres, DNA, all this stuff that I teach here started back then and was seeded then when nobody was really wanting to hear it. Now everybody is claiming it. Now, I have to be careful because does that trigger my ego? Because I want to say, I tried to tell you people. Remember when you put me out and you wouldn't listen to me and you withdrew from my ministry and you talked about me and you thought I was too far out? Now, the very thing that you rejected me saying is what you are saying. But you understand that enough is put out there that people tap into it because it's now available into the collective consciousness. Same way with tuning forks and all that we do in Soul Energetics. Don't you think that was not out there alone 23 years ago? There was nobody doing what we were doing at all. We were totally alone. Now it's all over the world. People are doing it. So I'm saying that to say it's not in vain that we come together and talk about things that seem a little far out. You know, things that just seems beyond our reach because your reasoning part of your brain is going to say, man, that's a lot. I don't know if I'm going to get there. I don't know if I'm going to attain that. So the ego says, well, this shut down. This is not for you. I've tried to explain to you here at HeartLight especially that what we are about is something that we're connected. I keep saying I don't want people who are so much under me. I don't want to be over you. We are here to be with each other in a relationship for the purpose of what, like this. Okay, so you give me an opportunity to sit here and talk to you because you're here. Huh? HeartLight as a building and property gives me a place and time and space to be somewhere. So I can be somewhere and be here because of the relationship that I have with this property and with you. Did everybody understand that? So things are coming out and through me because you are there willing to listen to it. Does that make sense to you? And that's why it's important that we have this relationship with each other, but understand it, that you are here with me for the planet. You are here with me to invest today in the collective consciousness. So no matter how your brain says, this is really far out stuff, I'm in my 70s, I'm in my 80s, I'm in my 60s, or whatever you are, thinking it's all winding up. No. Rewind. Rewind. So I just wanted to say that as we move on. So I'm going to start with a quote by Eric Hoffer that I came across that I think is so good. In a time of drastic change, it is the learners who inherit the future. That's why these classes are important for you that are the learners. Now, not everybody comes here to this class that comes here because I don't know how much of a learner they are. Some people just come and get their Sunday kind of fix and whatever, and that's enough for them. But you that come Sunday and Wednesday and workshops and classes, you are the true learners of HeartLight. Because you have in you that you want to know and you want to learn. So in a drastic time of change, it is the learners who inherit the future. The learned usually find themselves equipped to live in a world that no longer exists. You're going to make this much easier because of what you know. And that was recently said to me, I think more than one time this week from different people I talked to, is I don't know if I would make it through if I did not know what I know. If I had not learned what I learned in metaphysics or unity or science of mind or whatever your spiritual path is once you came out of the system, that helped to empower you with how to use divine principle, divine law, how to raise yourself up out of the lower emotional body so you're knocked out consciously. You that know how to use the mind in a more positive way and seeing things differently through faith. You that know how to use visualization. You that know how to use sound and vibration and frequency. And all these wonderful things that have been given to you makes us a rich people. A rich people. You, does that make sense to you? You, the learners, will inherit the future. And you, the learned, will find yourself equipped to live in a world that no longer exists because it is dying. Okay. So quickly, we kind of learned that reincarnation was actually a part of Christianity, as a part of early Christianity, pre-Christianity. I refer to that first 200 years as Christianity because it was those who followed the teachings of Christ. Christianity was when man came along and interpreted the teachings of Christ to become the teachings of the church. And the church then became the authority, and those in the church became the authority over God's word to the people. But up until that time, there was a more time in which was perceived as a more mystical part of Christianity. And it's during that time of about 185 to 254 CE that there was the acceptance without question of reincarnation in the Christian church. And this was greatly funded and was very much taught by Origen of Alexandria. And then things, of course, change as they do, and Christianity then became more under the influence of Constantine, and Constantine wanted to be certain that people did not believe they had any second chances at all. It was a one-time deal, hell or heaven. And of course, the hell was very influenced by Dante and his writings, which were seen as very inspired writings. They really believed that Dante was an inspired by God writer, and therefore his rings of hell became adapted into the church, the Catholic Church, which was the Christian church. You know, we think, I was raised in a non-Catholic church who didn't believe Catholics were Christians. No way. Because they didn't accept it the way we did. So Catholics was really on the outside. But truly, they are the real Christian church in the beginning. And it's from them that sprang off the Church of England, Lutheran, all of these different branches of churches, Episcopalian, Presbyterian, all these really came from that area of Catholicism, and therefore brought with them a lot of some of the different teachings and rituals of Catholicism. When people say I'm a Protestant, I'm not a Catholic, but really what they're saying at some level, I'm a Catholic who protested the papacy. And that's where the word Protestant comes from, a protester who protested the part of the Catholic Church that was controlled by the Pope. They didn't believe in that any longer. And then Luther came along with justification by faith, and all kinds of branches came out of that. I mean, you could name names and groups and religions. You got Wesleyan, you know, shows up over here in the United States. You got the Mennonites, you got the Quakers, you got people coming all over from Europe and gathering here that are the basis of all these different religions that we deal with here in the land of the free. You hate air quotes? I just hate air quotes. But anyway, there's one for there. So that's what we kind of discovered there. One of the things that people want to say a lot about reincarnation is, why don't we remember any past lives? And if we do, we usually have to go to someone that is supposedly gifted with the ability to lead us back through hypnosis or some kind of meditative system to remember something about a past life through past life regression. And some are charlatans, some are gifted, and that's where you have to use your own power, your own discernment to see who you're going to. But just no more than I would just go to somebody because they had a doctor's sign out on the sign, would I go to a psychic who says they're just a psychic and they got a psychic name or a title to it. I don't do that. You have to discern each and every person to see, is it a resident match for you. So each time a soul reincarnates on earth as a human, now again, this is an opinion, not a fact. Each time that a soul resonates on earth as a human, it loses all memory of the real world and memories of past lives on earth. This is necessary in order to start again from point zero and acquire a new personality. After experiencing life on earth for several decades, the physical body dies and the soul returns to the spirit world. People who led a life with a wrong mind, or example, led a self-centered life or hurt many people, are sent to, and this is really drastic, hell. They use the word hell in this particular, this is called happy science. Hell for self-reflection. Now, I know why they use the word hell, because we think of hell as some punishment, torment place, you know, where the bad goes. That's not true. Hell, and I've taught so much on hell, you know, hell yes, hell no. But hell means a lot of things. It's from several different words. It's from a word that means grave, Hades, Sheol. But it also is a place between lives. People go to a place between lives where there is a review of the past and there is a preparing of the future life. In fact, I'm thinking of a movie, it was years ago, but it was Meryl Streep, and I can't think who, and how they died, and they went to the station between life. And oh my God, it was fantastic. I got to try to find that again. We all need to see that movie. It was amazing, but it was all about what happens between dying and going on to the next level. Is very good. I just know Meryl Streep was in it, and I can almost think of the guy, but I'm not getting there. But I think it's maybe in the 80s, late 80s, or somewhere like that. So probably if you put in Meryl Streep and just put her movies in, you might find it. So Jesus, for people who have a lot of karmic debt, who have really been not nice, maybe the Hitlers, the so-and-so people who have really abused and misused their power. And it's so hard to talk about this because at the deepest level of truth, there's only the one power. So they don't have a different power that was evil power, but they used the power in an evil way. That's the right of humanity and free will of humanity. You get the power. It's like somebody gives you all the money. Somebody gives you $50 million, right? And then they say to you, but I'm not going to spend this for you. It's going to be up to you how you spend it. Now you could spend it for wonderful things. You could offer it to people who needs help, organizations that you believe in, or you could do horrible things with it. it'd be up to you how you use the money. Well, it's the same way, how do you use the power that was in you, the spirit in you? You can use it in ways that are not good. Well, a lot of people do some really not good things with their power and with their spirit. And therefore, these people need a place of to reset, to learn. People who go to this place who have done good things, Mother Teresa, all of these wonderful enlightened people who so was unselfish and helped the world, they go there too, but they are immediately prepared for the next life. The others takes longer because there is so much that needs to be dealt with in their karmic debt before they come back. And of course, the karmic debt is going to be how the next lifetime is figured in a way that they can pay off that debt in the next lifetime. So let's say a person is a serial killer, a murderer, a rapist. I mean, some really horrible things. I mean, come on, people. Human beings are capable of horrible things. Let's not stick our head in our sand. It's terrible what we can do to each other. It just amazes me all the time, the things that I hear about or see that we're capable of doing to each other. So in that situation, then your lifetime is going to be full of more things that you did that you're going to have the chance to change by experiencing what you did. So that means that what the church calls sin corrects you. And that's a scripture. And sin shall correct you. So your so-called sin or debt becomes the thing that you can change. So let's say that you are a murderer. I don't want to start categorizing things because I don't know what's what, but you've done horrible things. Then you come back and you live the reflection of that for the purpose to repent, to rethink it, to change it, and to pay that debt. When that happens, the more that you do that in a lifetime, the better your lifetimes get. Are you with me? It's kind of maybe the idea of muddy water, but the more clear water you put in, the less muddy the water gets. So the more that people use their lifetime to correct some of their things. But here's the thing that people don't know that needs to be taught is this is why you do the things that you do in a lifetime, because you probably did it in another lifetime. Yeah. So, that just goes with the law of what you what? Sow, you reap. What comes around, goes around. There is so much that stands behind this idea of reaping. I found a good scripture the other day in Hosea. It says, we shall sow a wind, but reap a whirlwind. In Hosea 8:7. So you see, you can reap something bad and not take care of it, and it gets worse in the next one. And it keeps on until it gets your attention, or until you understand that you are the one that can do something to change that pattern in your lifetimes. Now this is grown-up talk, because we all, whether admitted or not, have things that really are outside of our genetic ancestral story. You did not inherit it, everything. You can be a part of a really good genetic family, good people, whatever, and then you have in you something that's not so good. Maybe you have a tendency toward lying. Maybe you have a tendency toward judging. Maybe you have tendencies to do things and you don't know where that exactly came from. Well, it came from your karmic story. And this is why people go around saying all the time, why did I do that? Why would I do that? I would never do that. I would never choose to do that. But it's happening because it is a part of your story. That's tough to get into. I'm just saying it's grown-up talk because it means you have to take responsibility for all your actions that you have done in the past is showing up as your life. So that's definitely grown-up talk. But what I'm getting to is it says that also that hell is a place then where souls who are in prison go to. And it said of Yeshua, Jesus, that Jesus went and ministered to the souls imprisoned in hell. That's in the Bible. This is Hades. This is the grave. Now remember, I've taught you metaphysically, the grave is the dark subconscious part of ourself. It is the basement of our mind where we lock away memories that we don't want to remember anymore. And that's why the Bible says, and they shall be raised out of the graves. Do you realize how many people think that's literal? That people laying in cemeteries are all going to come up out of there physically? Because they don't understand the grave is the rising of ourself out of our own dark side, our shadow side of our soul. So he went and preached to the spirits in prison. It never says what he said. And when that happens, that tells me that you have to come up with this for yourself. So my experience was that what he did was came and offered correction to those that needed correction so that before they returned, they could return back into a better next life. If they did not, then they had to live out the hell they had caused becomes the hell that they live in. And some people, I believe, live in a state of hell. I really do believe that. We call it mental illness. We call it a lot of things. The church called it demon possession. That was their answer for it. You're demon possessed. You got the devil in you, all that kind of thing. But actually what it was karma. It was karma. So when it says Jesus healed these people, is there more to that than just saying, be healed? Maybe it was a process of healing them of their old debts that they had not taken care of in the in-between life. I know this is heavy stuff. Anyway, so people who led a life of wrong-minded example, led a self-centered life or hurt people are sent to hell for reflection after death. So this is an in-between place, maybe a bardo place, for you that understand the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which I meant to bring and I forgot it today. But bardos, they are stages and places between where we were. You can also experience them here in life. You don't have to die physically in the body to experience a bardo state. In fact, I would suggest people start looking into that and not waiting until physical death. And maybe some of you are there now. If you're really going through some tough, intense stuff, it could be because you've already entered what you would have entered in after you left the body, but you're entering it in the body. Because a lot of stuff is happening to us that would have happened after the body while we're in the body. On the other hand, souls who grapple seriously with the spiritual training on earth and improved their enlightenment return back to heaven and share all the experiences and learn lessons of their sister souls residing in the spirit world. In this way, the 6 souls which belong to the same soul group share all that is learnt each time when one of them returns from their time on earth. That says we have help. That's all that's saying. Call them guides, call them angels. You have specific people that are assigned to you to help you on these journeys that you are ready to go through. Because that's kind of been a fear of mine. I don't like being alone. I don't know about you, but I'm not a lone person. And I thought after death, I don't want to just be thrown somewhere where I'm just by myself and alone and I don't have anybody and whatever. I want to think that there are those that are there to assist us and to help us to make this tremendous transition. Can you imagine what it's like to make a transition out of the body, say being shot to death, a car wreck, things that happen suddenly with no process of dying, but immediately death. These people have to be somewhat a little lost over there, like, where am I now? And trust me, they're going to need those who are with them and can minister to them and help them to readjust themselves to this new place that they have entered into. So anyway, I just wanted to share a little bit of that with you. In the Kabbalah, one of the laws that it teaches is the Tikkun, T-I-K-U-N. Now that could be Tikkun, if you want to pronounce it, or Tikkun. Is common with Eastern spiritual traditions. Kabbalah teaches that each of us comes to this world with baggage from previous lifetimes. This baggage contains all the situations that were short-circuited in our last lives, or at some forgotten point in this life. Every time you fail to resist our reactive behavior, we have to correct it at some point in the future. This concept of correction is called Tikkun, which we have a Tikkun with money, people, health, friendship, and relationships. There is an easy way to identify our personal Tikkun. Whatever is uncomfortable for us is a part of our Tikkun. Now think about it. What is your relationship with money? And I find it interesting in this realm of consciousness that we call metaphysics, new thought, or whatever. People are really different about money. People are touchy about money, about giving, supporting. And I wasn't in that level. I was in levels where people so desired to give. You know, I mean, thank God I had those few decades when people was buying me clothes and paying my car off and doing wonderful things because they wanted to help the ministry. They just wanted to support the ministry because they believed to help the ministry was a way of giving to God. I don't find that in this realm at all. I find people even offended when money is asked. You're going to charge for that? Like my time or your time is not valuable? I've been very clear for 23 years with the practitioners who ask me, what should I charge for a tuning? It's clear to me. The download came so clear. Tell them do not charge for their gift, but charge for their time. I spend time to come here, but also spend time with you. We're spending our time with each other, and there's a value. And you have to sit there and think, is the value what he's saying? Is it worth me coming? And I'm saying, is it worth your time for me to have my value on the time that I spend to come here and to do this? So there's an exchange, an energetic money change with that. So I'm just using that as an example of some of the things that we have little idiosyncrasies about, things that we're funny about, things we're not comfortable about. You know, I don't want anybody touching me. I don't want to be hugged. All these little things that we react to that makes us different and unique, most likely has to do with something that needs a correction somewhere in our story. The way we grew up about money in our home, how we heard our parents deal with money. Maybe they fought over money. Maybe money was an issue. All these things that are affecting your life oftentimes can be due to a Tikkun or an event that really needs to be corrected. If we are embarrassed about asking for a discount from a haughty sales clerk in an upscale designer shop, you can be sure it is our personal Tycon, an area of correction. People are uncomfortable when something is given to them. Very uncomfortable to give me something. Meanwhile, I'll give something back to you because we feel it's our duty if something's given to us. Maybe we're not deserving to have just something just given to us. Well, that's a takan. Needs to be corrected. You should be comfortable just to say, thank you. Thank you, universe, that through this person, you have given me this wonderful gift. Instead of, oh, I don't think I deserve that. I didn't do anything to deserve that. No, I'm not comfortable with people giving me things like that. But you're almost suspicious. Why are they giving this to me? What do they want out of me? See, those are the things that this is talking about. If we find it difficult to confront an employee or employer, the root cause is found within the concept of tikkun. When we fail to make a correction by resisting our reactive behavior, it becomes more difficult to correct next time around. Remember, if you sow a wind, you reap a whirlwind. You're putting more energy into the thing you did not correct, and it becomes stronger. That particular reactive trait grows stronger. Our opponent grows stronger. Not only do we have to face the problem again, but we will be much harder emotionally to activate resistance. The next time around does not necessarily mean next life. So that's an interesting subject too we could get into. Due to some of the really great teaching that Greg Braid was doing in the 90s, around 94, was powerful teachings. One of them had to do, that I liked, was how things are changing in the sense of how we perceive time based upon magnetic and electromagnetic fields. And especially, he's one of the okay. Yes, they are. Amen. Okay, thank you. Now, where was I? Huh? Oh, yeah. Talking about how that there is a change in such things as the Schumann resonance. How many know what the Schumann resonance is? It's kind of, I think it's in Colorado somewhere. They basically set the clocks and the time and measure it with magnetic fields. For thousands of years, I guess, or a long time, it was around 7.8, 7.83 or something. And that began to change. And I don't know what the very latest one is, but we know that it has changed and gone up at one point to 12 and whatever. Now that is changing our perception of time. And what that has done at the time that I had this information was changing our perception of a 24-hour to a 16-hour day. So you that are saying it doesn't seem like there's enough time in a day, all I do is get up in the morning and it's time to go to bed again and start again, is because of the fact that your perception of time has changed. And the magnetic fields are getting faster and faster and faster. So the way I kind of put this on an illustration, if you can imagine, is we were out here. I remember as a kid in the 50s, late 40s and 50s, summer days were long. I didn't think that was ever going to end. It was just forever, it just seemed like. But I was out here. I was out here at a certain vibration and frequency of the fields, so I perceived it as a long day. Then things changed and spiraled in, and of course as it did, it went faster. Faster, 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 faster. What is it heading for? 0.0. Then it shoots out into another eon, age, or time span. Maybe no time. I don't know what that means, but it's not the one that we know. So at the same time that this is changing, it's also changing the ley lines of the planet, which is absolutely essential for nature, for insects, birds, and whatever, who are somewhat confused these days. You've got more beached whales. You've got birds that are off the course, not sure which direction to go. It's not easy right now because all of this is changing. The grids, the energetic grids on our planet is changing, and they're not the old route anymore because they're rerouting themselves. Well, this also is affecting human beings too. It's affecting us because we have magnetic fields. And we are electrical beings, so therefore we create electromagnetic fields also. So whatever the Earth is doing out here is affecting us because we are the children of Mother Earth. And what Mother does, so does her children do. So the change could be in the spin of the electron, and each cell is now resetting itself due to these changes, which is changing some of your bodily experiences. How your pancreas processes sugar, how your kidneys work, all these things that have ended up as symptoms of change and transformation rather than just medical issues. Now this is a tough one too. This is grown-up talk today. Grown up means that you have to take responsibility of who you go to for your diagnosis. If you're going to put all your eggs in the basket of a trained textbook medical Western doctor, you can't expect any more than they know. That means that whatever's happening to you, they're going to diagnose it the closest to the textbook they've been taught, whether it's that or not. It may not be cancer, but it could look like cancer. It could be leaning toward what they've been taught cancer is. Therefore, you diagnose you with cancer you don't have. But then you believe the doctor. Oh my God, the doctor told me I have cancer and I probably have 2 years to live. So you start planning on it and you start doing everything according to what has been planted in your mind. What is so important right now is, yes, I go to a doctor and I do want to know. I want to know what's going on because a doctor can do things like a sonogram, which is kind of frequency. So I can handle that. Even an MRI, that's all about vibration and frequency. I have nothing against CAT scans and all those kind of things to find if there is a physical issue going on that was caused by the physical. Then I'm going to treat it differently, trust me. But again, it's up to me to find the right kind of doctor because all doctors are not created equal. You've got doctors that are more open. You've got doctors that are more trained. You've got doctors that have dabbled into other things outside of the medical school. And then you've got some that are strict, almost like a fundamentalist preacher that will not veer from the literalism of the Bible no matter what Spirit said. If it's not chapter and verse, I don't believe it. Well, you have that in the medical, right? So what do? So I find out. Now I have options. I have options. First of all, I need to find somebody that is gifted and energetically trained to give me an energetic diagnosis of what's going on in my etheric blueprint energy body that is causing this. Now, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's in the physical, sometimes in the etheric, and sometimes it's just not where I think it should be, where I'm told it's supposed to be. Therefore, I have to open up to realize that possibly what I'm trying to treat is the symptoms of my transformation. That my body is resetting itself to new magnetic fields and the changes that they're going through. My body is in transformation. Now, and here's the thing I want to share that you have to be careful about because I got into a lot of things that I got into, like the sons of God I talk about, message I tell you about, because that was immortality. All I had to believe that Jesus said, "You shall not die. Death shall be put underfoot. Death is the last enemy. Eat of the bread that I give you, you shall not die." We just thought just believing that out of the body was just automatically going to make us immortal people. And I told you about my 10th immortality funeral. I decided to rethink that one completely. Then I also got into more metaphysical new thought things, which tried to transcend me above mentally of death and that kind of thing by just ignoring it and focusing on this and focusing on that. And then I still saw these people were still going to doctors in the hospital, being diagnosed with cancers and all kinds of things. Nothing much changed. If you go sit in a doctor's office, I don't care if you're metaphysically enlightened or you have nothing at all, you're all kind of there together because of the same thing. You know what I'm saying? The person that knows more is not necessarily going to get a different result from the other person who doesn't know more, unless we use it in that way. So, wow, I don't know where time goes. It just, see, there I'm talking about time, and it's just happening. It's good. So you see, what I'm trying to get you to see today is there's so many shades to this subject. It's just not black and white. It's just not a thing. Do you believe in reincarnation? Yes, I do. No, I don't. It's just not that easy. There is such shades of understanding that has to be looked at before we really have what is our truth about it. What is your truth about it? And that's what I wanted to discuss if you want to stay around a little bit afterwards, or we can do it another time. But I want to start the conversation on how you're beginning to build your belief construct about reincarnation to this point. And it can be with your signature, not mine, because I'm not even sure about all this stuff I'm giving you, what I want to validate yet. I kind of have my own thing, which I've been honest with you that I kind of believe in reincarnation at a certain dimension, and I do not believe in it in another dimension. In the realm of spirit, I do not, because my spirit does not need to reincarnate. It cannot become any more or less than it is. It just is the I am that I am. But I do believe it is my soul, my mind, that split because it believed that it was separate from itself, right? So tell me, what about the part of the soul that decided not to believe that? What happened to it? What happened to the soul? The part of the soul, it's the soul split into a belief that I'm not you, you're not me, believed in separation. What happened to the soul that said, no, I don't believe in that separation? The part of my mind, the higher part of my mind that didn't, what happened with it? What did it do?
Yeah, at some point it disappears.
Huh?
At some point it disappears. I'm not quite sure
Okay.
when or what, but
Okay.
it doesn't go with us all the way.
Okay. This is very simple. Try to grasp it. A part of the soul that did not go into that remained one with the spirit. The part of the soul that believed in separation and joined with the outer physical body, where it could prove its belief, I'm not you and you're not me. The only thing that sat here and proves that Tom is not me and I'm not him is our bodies. He's got a completely different body. His body's got a whole different story. His body's got its own tastes about things and whatever. I mean, we're very different. And that's the part of the soul, a part of my mind that goes into the proof of a belief that really never happened, but a belief that makes it real based upon it. So the soul that stayed with the spirit doesn't need to reincarnate. but the soul that falls. Because to go and join the body, you have to fall into the density of the body. The body is very dense compared to the spirit. So it falls. That's Adam's fall, they call it. They made a doctrine out of it, the fall of Adam. So, and remember, soul is her, she. Does anybody remember the Greek word for soul? Suke. Thank you. Somebody got one. Yay. Suke in the Greek, which we get our word, psychiatry, psychology, mind things, because it's mostly translated in the New Testament. Other words, but it's mostly suke, meaning the mind, which has a feminine word ending. Remember that? Remember we talked about how we don't have that in the English. We don't have masculine, feminine word endings in neutral, but you do say in Spanish and other languages. Greek. So suke has a feminine where he, spirit, pneuma, has a masculine word ending. So you got to think about this in the masculine and the feminine idea. It's kind of an inner drama that you want to make of this. Half of her stays with spirit, half of her becomes that fallen woman, so to speak, idea. She falls with the body, So it is that part of your soul that now wants the journey back to her wholeness. And I've tried to show you this is all being played out in the world today. Started in the 60s when the feminine, in the form of women, did not want to be suppressed any longer under the old systems of how women were seen and how women were placed in society and culture. Women begin to feel a stirring. Think about it, a stirring in their soul that they didn't want to just be somebody who marries a guy, has kids, takes care of them, but wanted to enter the workplace, realized they had a contribution to give to the culture can be much richer with females coming more forth and not being suppressed. And that was all because of what I'm telling you, because the soul now says, I'm ready to start my journey back to find my wholeness. She does that through reincarnation. The spirit part of the soul does it through incarnation, but the soul has to be reincarnated because it has to learn how to change its vibration and frequency through its different lifetimes. So apparently in the 60s we came close enough into the awareness level in which it was time for us to start understanding really this whole yin-yang, male and female teachings that had been so lost through all religions whatsoever. So the soul reincarnates, the spirit incarnates. Once she finds herself, and that's in all of us, men and women. Doesn't matter about your gender or what sexual organs you have or whatever. I'm talking about the feminine part of our soul has awakened and started on its journey, has entered into a state of awareness of itself. That it has begun to be aware of that part of itself. Once it reaches that level of atonement or at one-ment, and get that, atonement. A tone is a sound. At the right sound and frequency, they become once again, she becomes once again whole with him. The next thing that happens is the call to the wedding. The first thing Jesus does is change everything at the wedding. Christ in you begins to transform you into a whole being, being neither physical or spiritual, but becoming a new race and a new creation that is made out of those two things, produces and rebirths you, the new human. Go figure. Go figure it out. You see how I have the ability to make my mind a stage. And when I put it that way, it's so understanding to me. I don't know, find your own, whatever works for you. But it just works for me to see spirit is spirit. It can't be anything less. It can't fall. It can't be. But that part of itself, that is the lesser, the soul, the mind part of itself. The mind part of itself was where the split was. That's why the Bible speaks of being spiritually minded and carnally minded. Spiritually minded is a part of the mind that is one with spirit. Carnally minded is carnage. Carnage, flesh, is a part of the soul that is with the body. And I'm going to say this, I'm going to keep saying it, but I think at a deep, deep subconscious collective level, this is the fear of the power of the feminine. We can't let women completely reach the presidency or to reach any stage where they really can make difference, because they're going to think differently, they're going to do differently, and they're going to change everything, because the nature is different of the feminine than the nature of the masculine, which is more toward greed. Now, not to say some women don't have greed. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying, I'm talking energies here. The feminine energy is Sophia. It is wisdom. It builds. He takes over. Head. Control. My way. So, I didn't mean to get in that again, but until you can answer some of these questions, I'm just going to keep doing it over and over again until it becomes conscious. Here comes Sender with the basket to receive our class offering. Thank you so much for support. If you're still with us out there in online, thank you so much for the class. This has been grown-up talk. It definitely is grown-up talk. I'm not talking babes. I don't have a bottle for you to suck on. I'm not here with a pacifier. We're here to grow up, put away our childish things, and become a new creation being. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know our time is up, but yes?
I've had numerous regressions. No one has ever told me I was anything special. They simply ask you, where are you going? What are you doing? I've also done regressions for people, and I've also, through meditation, asked questions like, why did I have this situation in my life? And had a regression through meditation that answered things. And they have been, for me, very empowering. I have learned how I have damaged others. And how I had to pay back this lifetime with other people, and it helped me forgive.
Well, see, I like the tone of what you're saying, because I don't buy into every time you go to somebody and they tell you you were the queen of Egypt and you were the queen of this and you were that. No, they should be finding the stuff that you need to correct in yourself, the tikkun. So that's right on. That's somebody that knew what they were doing, and not trying to just please you because you might have paid them for a reading.
No, mostly they're painful.
Of course they are, because it's the pain that needs to come up. We need the pain to come up. because now we're at a level of consciousness where we can deal with the pain differently. Pain should not knock us out consciously now. It should be there for us so that we can correct it. It's such an opportunity for us to find the bliss in the pain. Like, if I would love to be at a place, I can't tell you I totally am, I'm working on it, but when something happens to me kind of physically, my first reaction is to get scared. Oh my God, this is it. This is the big one. The big, remember, what's his name? Yeah. Yeah. I can tend to go there by nature, fear by nature. But I have a higher spiritual part of my mind that if I will take the elevator to the next floor, because something's going on different on the next floor that's going on this floor, right? And I'll go up there and I say, but universe, thank you for bringing this symptom and this pain up, because it's something I may have neglected for lifetimes back. And now, thank you that in spite of me, you have brought it up to me, because you know that I'm equipped to handle it and to take care of it and to change this vibrational pattern of it so that it's no longer a part of my karmic debt any longer. I don't have to have it repeated in the next. I mean, again, stop and think, people. Some people, we just say, they're just born lucky. Everything they touch turns to gold. And I know people the opposite. I know such good people. I had a wonderful friend. There couldn't be a kinder, loving, good, but he had more bad luck than anybody I ever saw. It was just one thing after another. And you probably know people like that. They just can't seem to get out of it. They get out of one thing and something else is going. On the other hand, you got people that just everything they touch is successful and they do good. That's because the difference is what has been changed in the pattern of the etheric soul that is no longer a pattern that is showing up throughout the lifetimes. Right? Yes.
Well, my knowing has led me to the idea of taking the doula training and working in that way. And in lots of contemplation and downloads and things like that about it, there are 78 million people reaching the age of death now. And so what I have gathered is it doesn't matter what state they're in when they are at this time. It is what state they arrive in terms of belief, actions, any of those kind of things whatsoever, at the time they arrive at this closeness to death. It does matter how they leave, how they transition. And what I've gotten is that we're having so much trouble moving out of 3D that work needs to be done at this particular time to go there. And it all centers around forgiveness, offering it and receiving it in a huge way. And so the opportunity to facilitate that is what I've been given the word, seeding the future. Seeding the future of human beings. If more can leave in a state that's different. And that's also an example for their loved ones, friends and family, to see, not to be preached, not to be told, not to anything else, but to witness that time is another form of seeding the future for them as well.
Very good, very good. Thank you. When I read the Tibetan Book of the Living and Dead, it made me realize that we are not friends to helping people make the transition by surrounding them and saying, don't go, and all of that. Oh, it's just the worst thing that you can possibly do whatsoever. And I've also learned that people pass by chakra. They die first in the first chakra. That's when all of a sudden they're not interested in the family anymore. They don't necessarily want you there. Get away from me. My mother did that to me, and as close as we were, it just killed me because I wanted to be right in her face, you know, just trying to give her ice water and this, that, and another. And she just had nothing to do with me because her first chakra had gone. Her second chakra went because up until that time, she was talking about seeing my dad, seeing her husband, all that left. She never mentioned again. So as I look back at that, after I read that, I thought, if we could help people through the chakras, we could be of a great assistance.
That can be, you can become aware of by watching the physical that will indicate those things, I believe.
Because I believe that death, for a better word, starts long before the last bits of it.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe at some points parts of the soul leave long before even they end up in the throes of the last minutes of life or hours whatsoever. So it's a process is what we're trying to say. It's not an event, it's a process. And I certainly honor you, Rhonda, for you taking on this training and stepping up to be a doula. To help people. We all may be very, very glad you did. Well, we need that here. We need, if this comes to be a thing here, it's good that we have people among us that knows how to deal with this. You know, I'm thrilled over Kathleen showing up here with her tremendous new way of diagnosing us by our DNA. Oh my God, when's the last time a doctor said, I want to look at your DNA and see exactly what's wrong with you? Now we have somebody that's trained, a professional that can do that. Tim and I are going through it, and it's just been amazing. I was taking 40-some capsules and whatever. She boxed them all up, and now I'm taking 4 different things that she says is because it's in my DNA of what I need to be taking and what I'm dealing with. And I thought, I like that streamlining all of this. So we're blessed. We're blessed who's dropping into this group of people so that we can be a full, living, thriving organism rather than a dead organization. So yeah, and she's going to be speaking. I think she'll be here Sunday to give just a little inspiration, but she's going to also start having some talks here about how to help us be much better physically, and we might as well have the best life we have if that's the way we're going to go. I don't know that everybody will, but if we are, then we might as well have the best and be the best that we can. Anyway. So maybe can we take, are we off? Oh, hello, goodbye, hello. Thank you for joining us today. Hope that you've enjoyed today's class. Please let us know if you have any questions or comments. I'm sure that you can find how to do that online. And also we appreciate your financial support also. So thank you so much. And